wasting precious time more needed for discussion of the such substantial issues directly related to the maintenance of international peace and security as mass killings, atrocity of the Israel just around 10 days ahead of the new year. At this juncture, closed year end of 2023, the international community needed to seriously reflect upon the weather situation of the Korean Peninsula this year could have reached such extreme phase as today if United States and ROK had stopped act of the military provocation against the DPRK, waking themselves from illusion of the extended deterrence posture. As witnessed by the world, this is the bounded to be recorded as the most dangerous year when the military security landscape of the Korean Peninsula and the region plunged into unprecedentedly serious crisis due to fringe of the reckless military confrontation. From the beginning to the end of the year, United States conducted a joint military exercise of the clear aggressive nature, one after another, with the ROK, such as the Sangnyong Combined Joint Fire Annihilation Drill and Ultra Freedom Shield. It also framed up the Washington Declaration, which made it a policy to use nuclear weapons against the DPRK and set in the motion so-called nuclear consultative group. Those mission is to plan, operate, and implement preemptive nuclear attack. This year, United States introduced the sixth nuclear power submarine, including strategic nuclear submarine Kentucky, into the area of the Korean Peninsula under the disguise of the enhanced regular visibility of the strategic assets. It also pushed in nuclear aircraft carrier strike group in succession, such as Minitz and Ronald Reagan, and deployed P-1B and P-52H strategic bombers on more than 20 occasions. The area of the Korean Peninsula has literally been turned into the general depot of the strategic nuclear assets of the United States and the most unstable zone of the nuclear war danger due to deployment of the strategic nuclear assets and the large-scale joint military exercise conducted incessantly by United States all the year around. This reality clearly shows that vicious cycle of the aggravated situation in and around the Korean Peninsula is attributable to none other than the United States and ROK, which unilaterally heightened the level of the military tension, both in rhetoric and action. Certain countries lend ears only to one-side argument of the United States and ROK that their compelled strength extended deterrence posture under the pretext of the countering so-called nuclear threat from the DPRK. This is a typical example of the extreme double standard which turned back on the truth. The international community needs to think at least once about the security concern of the DPRK on the opposite sides of the United States and ROK. The United States and ROK brought in the vast aggressive armed force, including nuclear submarines, nuclear strategic nuclear bombers, which are more than enough to reduce the whole territory of a country to the ashes, and are conducting provocative nuclear war exercise before us at any time. If this is not a violation of the DPRK security interests, then what it is? Who would surrender to the enemy attacking with the sword? Whichever country would remain indifferent or defenseless toward a large-scale military exercise waged by enemy state at its doorstep. Such a man without the future, as a lame duck, U.S. President may remain indifferent to it, but never in case of the DPRK, which is a dignified sovereign state. Anyone who thinks reasonable can easily judge that the DPRK countermeasure vis-a-vis security threat from United States and ROK are absolutely reasonable, normal, and reflective response. Overwhelmed by high-handedness and arbitrariness of the United States, UN Security Council has now been reduced to mechanism of injustice that often allow such bring digital logic and double standard as to call into question who did it instead of what was done. The prevailing reality clearly show that biggest threat to the international peace and security is coming from UN Security Council itself. As long as illegal and unlawful acts of double standard of the United States and its followers are allowed, UN Security Council has no moral and legal qualification to deal with the issues on the international peace and security. If United States and its follow forces again seek to divest our state of its sovereignty, clamoring about the implementation of the unlawful and unwarranted the sanction resolution of the UN Security Council against TPRK, it will inevitably provoke just the exercise of the right to self-defense of sovereign state enshrined in the UN Charter. We take this opportunity to send our stoned warning once again to the United States and ROK. If they continue with their reckless and irresponsible military threats in an attempt to infringe upon the sovereignty and security interests of the DPRK, its armed force will never remain onlooker to it, and provoker will be held entirely responsible for all consequences arising from there. The DPRK will in the future too continue to build its strategic power of more advanced type to contain and control any threat from United States and its follow with immediate, overwhelming, and decisive countermeasures. It will also go hand in hand with righteous international community to establish new independent and peaceful international order based on the principle of the respect for sovereignty, non-interference in internal affairs, justice, and quality. I thank you.
Agradezco al
I
representante
thank
de
the
la
representative of the
República Popular
Democratic People's
Democrática de
Republic
Corea
of
por su
Korea for their
declaración.
statement.
Tiene la
I
palabra
now
el
give the
representante de
floor
la
to the
República de
representative
Corea.
of the Republic of Korea.
Mr. President, thank you for convening this urgent meeting of the Security Council. I also thank ASG Mr. Chiari for the briefing. The Republic of Korea condemns in the strongest possible terms the DPRK's intercontinental ballistic missile launch on December 18th, as well as its short-range ballistic missile launch on December 17th intended to directly target the Republic of Korea. The DPRK's continuing reckless provocations and development of its unlawful nuclear and ballistic missile programs in violation of multiple Council resolutions. It is indeed deplorable to see the Pyongyang regime wasting its scant resources on developing its WMD program while turning a blind eye to the suffering of its own people and only taking care of a handful of the ruling class loyal to the regime in Pyongyang. If left unchecked, the DPRK would be emboldened to engage in further provocations, threatening the entire international community. I'm sure that no Council members want this. Mr. President, dear colleagues, this Council has expressed its determination to take further significant measures in the event of the DPRK's provocations in Resolution 2397. Yet we have done nothing over the years, and in the meantime, the frequency and intensity of the DPRK's provocations have been drastically ramped up. More than 100 ballistic missile launches, including 13 ICBMs and 3 so-called satellite launches since last year, are unprecedented, even compared with the DPRK's missile launch activity over the past 3 decades. As I pointed out at the previous meetings, it is deeply concerning to witness this august body locked in a stalemate and being ridiculed by the DPRK. Seeing the Council's continued failure to unite in condemning these dangerous provocations, let alone taking action in response, the Pyongyang regime is now rushing towards the point of no return. Furthermore, my delegation also emphasizes that the DPRK issue is no longer a regional one. It has already been spreading insecurity in other parts of the world and threatening the lives of ordinary people around the globe. We see DPRK ammunition and weapons in wars and conflicts. Many banks and companies around the world are attacked by North Korean hackers. Revenues generated by illicit activities such as cryptocurrency theft and overseas workers in direct violation of relevant Security Council resolutions are then siphoned off to its WMD programs. Mr. President, my delegation would like to bring to the Council's attention that the DPRK nuclear threat has entered a new phase since last year. The DPRK officially indicated the possible use of tactical nuclear weapons in 2022 and then passed a law in September that year, which lowered the threshold for using nuclear weapons and even opened the door for a preemptive nuclear attack. Furthermore, the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has overseen and guided numerous drills of North Korean military units on the spot for the deployment and operation of tactical nuclear weapons. From the security perspective of the Republic of Korea, not only ICBMs, but the entirety of its ballistic missile programs, including short-range ballistic missiles, pose a grave threat to our national security. Against such a menacing and existential threat, the Republic of Korea has to and will take necessary measures, all necessary measures to protect the lives and safety of our people by maintaining a robust combined defense and deterrence posture. We will be relentless in response to these continued provocations by DPRK in cooperation with the United States and Japan. We will be tireless and will prevail in the contest of resolve vis-à-vis the DPRK. At the same time, we reiterate our position that the door for dialogue and negotiation remains wide open without any preconditions. Mr. President, the DPRK attempts to shift blame again to others in a forced endeavor to establish a pretext for the unlawful launches of ballistic missiles. However, we should not put the cart before the horse. The DPRK's ever-growing unlawful nuclear and missile threats are the very reason why we are strengthening extended deterrence cooperation with the US, not the other way around. On December 17th, which was one day before the ICBM launch and the 12th anniversary of passing of Kim Jong-il, the father and the predecessor of the current North Korean leader, the Rodong Shinmun, the official newspaper of DPRK's Workers' Party, exalted the late leader for great national historic achievement of nuclear weapons program. This is yet another example which clearly shows that the DPRK's missile launches, including the ICBM this time, are based on its own playbook. Dear colleagues, faced with such a grave threat, the Security Council must stand united and speak with one voice. In this regard, my delegation urges the two permanent members who are hesitant to take additional sanctions measures at least to join us in sending out the following three messages. This is the common ground that I'm sure the Council, which bears the primary responsibility for maintaining international peace and security, could agree upon, despite different views on additional sanctions. First, the Council must condemn the DPRK's continued provocations and continued development of its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. Second, the Council needs to reaffirm the goal of complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of the DPRK, as repeatedly agreed in multiple Security Council resolutions. And third, The Council should stress the importance of the full implementation of all relevant Security Council resolutions, whose sanction regimes are the most sweeping and comprehensive in terms of subject, scope, and level. This is the absolute minimum the Council must stand united for, as well as the starting point needed to reverse the trend of impunity against North Korea. Let us take a unified stand to reverse the current trend. Let us take a determined step in the name of the Security Council. Thank you, Mr. President.
Agradezco al representante de
I
la
thank the
República de
representative
Corea
of
por
the
su
Republic of
declaración.
Korea for their
No hay más
statement.
intervenciones
There are
inscritas
no
en la
more
lista.
names inscribed on
Se
the list of
levanta la
speakers. The
sesión.
meeting is adjourned.